Hello everyone, thanks for dropping by. That's Morford Clark on the screen, and the only thing I've ever seen her in is clips from The Ring of Power. And the only way I've seen them is because Gary, Az, and the rest of the gang on FTN have watched it and they commented on the series. Rings of Power, like House of the Dragon, and like Games of Thrones is not my sort of thing. So I've not seen her apart from those clips. She's about surprisingly 2 inches shorter than me. So even when she's in heels, we'd be more or less at eye level. And the usual question, if I was super wealthy, would I date her? Yeah, I would. She's Swedish, but ever since she was 2 years old, she's lived in Wales, where her family moved there. So if I was in my 30s like she is, and her orbits crossed, and yeah, I'd take her out, see if we got on. But the fact is, as you know, women prefer guys much taller than them, so even if I'm a bit taller than her, she'd probably want to go out with a guy and date a guy who's a lot taller than me. So, and as it is, I wouldn't get anywhere, so never mind. What you never had, you'll never miss. Anyway, enough about my Mur- Murford. Strange name, that. Uh, anyway, as you know, women in America have been buying lots and lots of houses. That could be on the American news. So I found masses of links, but I have to shrink it down to a handful, and this is one of the first ones I found. As you can see, this is First American. It says more single women than ever own homes, even as affordability pressures persist. Now, I don't know if that woman is that woman, the author of this piece. She looks the same, and it says a record number of single women own homes in 2025 despite a dip in home ownership rates. Long-term gains in educational attainment and real household income continue to boost women's participation in the housing market. And then it goes down. The rising number of single women home owners underscores resilience in the face of affordability, pressures and confidence in home ownership as a pathway to long-term wealth. Now this is what took my eye. It said from 2000 to 2025. The blue line shared with a degree or higher education that starts at 2000. Now, third wave feminism started in the 1990s. So a third wave feminist woman goes to college, gets a piece of paper, gets into a high job, and she starts owning a house. Well, as you know, MGTOW kicked off in 2000, more or less. It's not really a degree of MGTOW, but it gives you an idea of the effect of third wave feminism. Single female home ownership, that is the greyish line, that's this one. That's women without a degree. Real median household income, that would be that one. And single female house ownership rate, that would be that one. Notice the difference. That could be blue collar women, and that is women with a degree. Now, as you know, women with a degree, they don't want to date down. So all these women here, they're gonna want to go with a guy who's earning as much as them or more than them. Good luck with that. And it says why single women continue to buy. Several findings help explain why women continue to purchase home ownership in greater numbers. According to a recent National Association of Retailers study in America, single women remained a growing and influential segment of the home buying population. This accounts for the largest share of purchases in single men and cites stability as a key motivation. Now that's that article. This was done on the 5th of March this year. fast forward to the 13th of March. This is News Insight. 20 million single American women now own homes, a new US record. It says just in time Women's History Month, whatever that is. A new housing data analysis reveals that despite affordability challenges, the number of single female households in America climbed to an all-time high last year, surpassing 20 million. However, it says the Realtor chief economist points out the profile of single female householder defines a common stereotype of the young, never-married woman striking out on their own. In reality, this demographic is far more diverse, encompassing a wide range of ages, late stages and financial backgrounds. Now this bit caught my eye. A big proportion of the increase in single female households is older women who are likely separated, divorced or widowed. Well, if she's a widow, she gets a free pass. Single female buyers are far more likely to have family, such as children, i.e. single mothers, or older dependents, could be looking after their parents, a family home, living with them. So when the parents die, she probably gets the family home if she's got no children of her own. I don't know what she's going on about. And it says single ladies household must have, and then it gives you advice what they must have. I often feel that researching neighborhoods carefully and prioritizing walkability, community and homes that feel secure. Of course, you have to check out the neighborhood you're going to live in. And then college to closing pipeline and yada yada yada. But that bit about divorce is the only thing that took my eye, this bit. Now, back to CNBC, Women and Wealth. 35% of Gen Z households are single women, research shows. Here's why they need an estate plan. So you drop down. Where's the bit that caught my eye? Where the bloody hell is it? Oh, shit. Probably staring at me. Sorry about this, people. Here we go. Thought it knew it was staring at me. For single house... bloody hex. For single house owners, a will is generally a document where you'd specify you should inherit the house if you die. If you die without a will in America, called dying intestate, that's the same terminology we have in my country, or you don't name an heir to your house, American state law would dictate who inherits the property. So if she was divorced and she's got the property and she dies without a will, then the state law could determine that her ex-husband, if she has children, the ex-father of her children, inherits the house. So if he paid for it, she got the house through the divorce, she dies without a will, then the house will automatically, via state law, go back to him. Just speculation, but that's how it came across to me. And it says, make sure you at least have a will in place, the judge said. That ensures that if something happens, the house goes to the person you wanted it to go to. Be aware that assets passing through the will generally are subject to probate, same in my country. That's a process of settling someone's estate and involves the will being validated in court, taxes and debt being paid, and assets getting distributed to heirs. But if she's got no children, then it'll probably go to her cousins or nieces and nephews and this, that and the other. Now, this is another bit which puts a spoke in all these American women earning houses. It says single women own more houses than single men. Here's what they're doing differently. Now, this is about a lady, it could be her, the Sarah Wilson, financial expert. She's a budget girl, she's bought a house, good, well done, but she's 31. She's a single post-war, about to purchase a duplex, whatever that is, on my own personal residence and place to rent out as an additional form of income. Well done. I have a large down payment saved and plan to use the rental income to pay the mortgage and eventually buy more properties. Well done. She isn't well off. She's getting a loan. She's single. She earns 45 grand a year and still lives frugally. So do I. After paying off she's paid off a student loan. Well done. She's doing this completely on her own as an investment of our independence and financial security. All very well, but she's 31 years old. Is there a man in their life? When is she going to have children? Is she going to have children? Is she going to leave the house? Who's she going to leave the house to? And this bit is what caught my eye. Divorce plays a role, but only to an extent. The obvious question is, how do women who still earn less than men on average manage to own more property than single men? One fairly unexciting reason, at least from the perspective of women's advancement, is that divorces between men and women, the woman is likely to get the family home over her ex-husband who probably paid for it. Historically, divorced women take the house, and that is still primarily true. The guy generally is the one moving out, and that affects these statistics. As I said, all these 20 million houses in America that these women own, how many got that via divorce settlement, or it was the family home and she got the house when they divorced? And it says divorce certainly, divorce certainly plays a part, but that doesn't seem to be what's driving the trend of single women home ownership. And then it gives all about it. Women are raised to be more risk-averse than men, and this insistence that pays off. And women tend to be more conservative, which is good when buying a house. Men often try to stretch it, maybe, but the guy tries to stretch it because he sees the house as it's going to be a family home for when they have children and raising a family, not just living on his own. If he's living on his own, then a one-bedroom flat will do him, or at most a two-bedroom flat. It says, but women, being more risk-averse, don't stretch themselves to buy a home they can't afford. Well, they're only buying it for themselves, not to start a family. And 4 quick tips to buying a home on your own. Now, on the subject of divorce, I found this, AOL, America Online. I'm surprised that's still going. It says, older divorced women priced out of houses are finding a lifetime in tiny home villages. This was done on April 24th this year via an article from Business Insider. Now, this is in Holland, Mini Polias. It says, single older women are turning to tiny home villages after getting divorced. And as one US village said, roughly a third of its residents are older divorced women. There's major financial reason this group was tremendously overrepresented, said one expert. And then we have an example. A Dutch lady, Margot Hollander. She got divorced at 62. Why? Among many decisions she faced in 2023 as she navigated life after marriage was the practical question of where she would live. After divorce, I had to settle somewhere, she says, sitting in a small dining table of her modern tiny home with a miniature dog at her feet. And then it goes on about it. That's the lady there, and that's the dog. Thought she was a strong, independent woman. She doesn't look too happy there, does she? And then the Minotaur Foundation, that's in Holland, works with local governments to turn derelict land into housing, tiny house communities. More than 150 plots are spread across 5 sites in southern Netherlands i.e. Holland, where the Dutch live. Of the nearly 2,000 people there, including Fireside, one key demographic stands out. A big part of it is divorced people. The von Boxmer said estimate around 30% of those on the waiting list were single women, many of them older and divorced. Why did they get divorced? Why did they pick the guy that they married? Remember, women are the gateway to relationships and sex. Men are the gateway to financial security. The guy marries a woman to raise a family. And says, we've attracted a lot of these people. They need a home fast, and that they like. They are a bit older and don't usually have waiting list priority on social housing in Holland. And it's divorced women often buy with cash. And whereas this bit is interesting, it's not just a Dutch trend. For Minotopia, older Dutch divorced women make up a sizable chunk of residents. There are similar examples outside Holland of divorcees turning to tiny houses in the American state of Oregon. One woman built her own tiny home village after struggling financially following her divorce. In Texas, another set up a community primarily for older single women. Now, why are they older single women? Did they play the field too long and they find that the guys don't want them anymore? Did they get divorced? There's two sides to every tale. If she got divorced, what's the husband's side? And in Tampa Bay, a tiny home village community of 33 residents in Florida, told Business Insider it also attracted a significant number of older divorced women. Roughly 1/3 of our residents fall into the category of older and or divorced women, many of whom seek a simpler, more manageable lifestyle, a spokesperson said. And this woman here in Britain, Manchester University, whose PhD focused on women's urge for tiny houses, told Business Insider, excuse me, it's increasingly common in capitalist economies for older divorced women to turn to tiny housing. Older single people, especially older divorced women who have historically been in heterosexual relationships, are tremendously overrepresented in tiny house space. He says, many of their women have spent much of their lives in unpaid roles. She's the guy's wife. She runs the family household. He brings home a weekly wage, such as raising children, Wilson added, making them less liable to have significant financial resources of their own. That would be my own mother. Mum stayed at home and raised the children, my eldest brother Colin, middle older brother Jeff, and me. But Dad, he went out to work and he brought home wages in his job as a plasterer, tradesman, and that's how we lived. They left a position where they don't have savings, they don't have access to assets, they don't have a big pension pot, but they had a husband and they had a family home. Why did they divorce? Tiny houses are really one of the only potential solutions that these women can actually afford. And then that's one in Holland, and there's no pictures of the ones in America. And on a tag on, 2 mums and 3 kids have a genius idea of Momune, and it changes their lives. There's 2 of the women. Where's the father of those children? Isn't he in the picture? But anyway, single women more than ever owning homes in America. There's 20 million single women owning homes in America. But how many of them got the home via divorce? Some of them. Where is it? like her. She did it on her own back, but why does she buy a house if she's going to live it on her own? Is she going to raise a family in that home or not? But a lot of these single women, they don't have a will, and if they don't have a will, then the state that they're in, they decide who gets the house when they die. If there's an accident or they get ill and they die. But a lot of these older women who divorce find out that they're in Queer Street and they've got to settle for a place like that because there's nothing else for them. It's a lopsided American media thing crowing about all these 20 million single women having homes in America and more homes than single men. But a single guy doesn't need much in a house. A small house a guy can cope with. But women, if they're buying a house they're just going to be rattling around in it on their own, and sooner or later they're going to get sick of it, and they most likely sell the house and move into a smaller thing because they've got no one to leave it to because they're all strong, independent women who don't need no man. Anyway, I think I'm under 20 minutes now, so I'll have to finish it. But on a side note, am I making much difference doing these videos for the MGTOW sphere? I do one every week, as you know, but I sometimes get an idea that I'm not giving much information to all of you who probably all know what I'm coming out with these articles. So just a question, am I making any difference at all? But anyway, I'm on 20 minutes now, so you know the routine. Like, dislike, comment, subscribe. It's completely up to you. So until next Monday, I'll try and find something else that's totally different. But for now, that's it from me. Bye-bye.